Welcome back. W that haven't done a lot of around here lately. Going to talk some Major League Baseball with Alan McCallum, our longtime historian and baseball insider. And we're now getting down to the nitty-gritty here, Alan. It's, what's that magic number going to be for how many games they win, they lose, steal a game against the Yankees over the weekend. They won't be stealing too many of those. The A's also, coming in and cleaning some clocks. We've had a little bit of playoff activity through the end here, but, 113, 115, 117, whatever the number is going to be, right? At this point, it can't be more than 117 at this point. Welcome in. It's been a long time since we've chatted, and I don't know what there is to say other than where this dial is going to spin and what happens beginning next week, because this thing's about to come to an end, right?
Well, I guess we should be thankful that they're not going to lose 120 games. I mean, is that the takeaway from the season? I've seen bad baseball. I saw it for more than a decade. I think we all know what that looks like. But this team has its own unique brand of bad baseball. It's, sometimes bad teams can be interesting because they do just goofy things that are worth sort of chuckling about or shaking your head over. I mean, this team is just, they're not even interesting in being bad. For example, they get one hit a couple of weeks ago, but the one hit comes in the first inning, so there's not even any drama. Are they going to get no hit? Is there going to, what's the situation? It's one hit in the first inning, so there's nothing else interesting to watch the rest of the game except them get beat down. It's been one of the longest seasons I could ever imagine anyone having, and it's going to be over soon, mercifully.
All right, so where is the magic spinner now for you with all of this? The rumors that Buck is out, viable. The rumors that Adam Jones is not coming back, plausible, right? I mean, I'm wondering how it plays out, though.
Sure.
Under Peter, it was one way. I don't know if Buck declares himself gone at 5 o'clock Sunday. How quickly they clean out the lockers. Where's Brady Anderson in all of this? Where's John and Lou? What happens? I mean, what are they going to be saying as they exit this weekend? That's the interesting part to me, because it feels like it could be a mushroom cloud, but it also feels like it could be a mushroom pillow, right? Like, it's just good nighty-night, goodbye. Nobody says anything. No one asks any questions, and we don't hear from the Orioles for a month. That might also be the case, right?
Right. Well, I mean, look, the first thing is that, again, this team has already cemented the worst record in the history of the franchise. They have the worst hitter, arguably, in the history of the sport in the lineup virtually every day, hitting in the middle of the lineup virtually every day. And even with the trades that they did that sort of cemented how bad this team was going to be, I mean, there was still enough talent on this club at every moment in the season. Maybe not so much now, but let's say before September, where they should have won, 60 games, for example. And all of that, and
some of that would have been predicated on Scope and Machado and Gausman being around and Cobb and Cashner being decent. I mean, if that had happened, they could have won 75, right? But they wouldn't be getting, the number one draft pick either, right?
Well, my point is that no one has been fired. And that is just frankly mind-boggling to me. I realize that there are a lot of people whose contracts are up at the end of the year, and maybe they just didn't want to pay anybody else. But there comes a moment when you have to say to your fans, to your investors, to the people who patronize your product, that you are paying attention, and that didn't happen at all is really questionable to me.
Well, they were paying attention. They dealt away, stars for 15 players, literally, right?
Right. Yeah. Look, I think Buck's story in Orioles history has been cemented in a lot of ways. There's no way to underplay how important he was to bringing a renaissance back to a club that had been literally in hell for more than a decade. And that said, his time as Orioles manager really should be over. I mean, they finished last season. They finished worse than last, if that's possible, this season, and with no hope in sight through pretty much since opening day. And I think that absolutely has to reflect on the manager and what he can get done. It seems as though they have given a renewed confidence to Dan Duquette, who the story is being told that he, lost his power much to his own doing over the last few years. But as I said to you before, I'll say it again, the story for me about Dan Duquette is not that he can't find talent. It is not that he can't put a team together, but that everybody that walks out of this joint walks away saying to the effect that, well, they didn't talk to me. They didn't offer me a contract. I didn't know what was going on.
I didn't know who was in charge, right?
Right.
We all know who's in charge. It's Peter. And the problem is Peter's still in charge and nobody else can make a decision. I mean, Rosenthal's writing stories that people in Major League Baseball don't know who to call. Literally. That's where we are. It's a level of malfeasance and incompetence that I've been talking about for 25 years that, when they called Peter, Peter would sometimes decide he didn't want to call back, and there was no number two, and there's no reason to ever talk to anybody other than Peter in this organization. That's been the story for 25 years, right?
I firmly
and if you talk to Peter, Peter might lie to you anyway.
I firmly believe this organization needs to start over with everybody. From upper management, maybe not, the minor leagues or so to speak. I guess that's worthy of evaluation. But at the top, I think everybody is toxic, and I think for renewed confidence.
They're really toxic to? Anybody who would come in and find this. Like, if you're going to come in and manage this thing next year, and it's Dan Duquette and Brady Anderson, sort of, kind of, and the old man's alive, sort of, kind of, and the kids are sort of running it, sort of, kind of.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And Mike Bordich's the manager, or Rick Dempsey. Literally, dude, laugh if you will, but that's where this thing's going, dude.
A season this bad requires a complete and total cleaning of the house. Period. It just does. And that does not seem to be what's going to happen. Again, it's something that just leaves you scratching your head. For a lot of people, this could be a really interesting time to take over a team where you have international slot money, where you're going to have the first pick in the draft, where while the team on the field at the major league level isn't great, you have a small infusion, not a spectacular one, but an infusion of some talent in the minor leagues. This could be a real general manager, real talent scout's dream to take over at this moment, where the expectations are going to be low for a couple of years and you have a chance to play. But as you said, with the setup that it currently exists and the confusion about how things should be or are going to be, it's hard, it's going to be very hard to find someone to do the jobs that are going to need to be replaced. So they're setting themselves in a situation where they could set themselves up really nicely moving forward. If the rumors are true, I believe that they're going to continue to have a confusing, complicated, dysfunctional circumstance that won't benefit anybody.
In your travels and in 20 years of doing this, with me sort of quasi-professionally and being in and out of live, you travel in the real life. You live in Baltimore. You sort of work on the D.C. side. How many people in the Orioles space are still there for you? Look, man, I'm on Facebook. I've done this my whole life. Literally on my Facebook, there might be a dozen or 20 people out of tens of thousands of people who still care enough to say anything. I'm not talking about an opening day wine drinker. I'm talking about a baseball fan. I feel like it's so hard in my real life at 50 to find baseball fans anymore. All of my friends who love baseball are gone, kind of sort of including you. You and I have been talking about going to a baseball game together for 5 years, 10 years. The Dave Muirs and the Tom Capps and the guys that I used to go to baseball games with. A few people I know still go. They don't really like going with me, which is fine. I don't really go. I don't know where that point in my life it's ever going to fit in again, that I go to 28 games a year. I don't know that that's ever going to happen again. And I don't even find myself sliding into an Indians game when I'm in Cleveland anymore. I had half a bus, a trip full of people that just didn't want to go see a stadium in Pittsburgh. I'm really worried, Alan, at the core, and I know you know this because I've written about it. Where are the people going to come from that are going to come back and give them money? Where are the new people of color, you know, in your case and in my case? Where are the people from Dundalk coming from that used to go to the games, that used to think it was a big deal and bought in? I don't know where the next generation of excitement for the sport is coming from, Alan. I'm really, really worried about it, that 5-10 years from now, all that I had predicted 12 years ago with Free the Birds and where they are as a brand, where this community is, where the stadium's located, how the city is right now. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, to me, that's the big picture. It's not who's going to be their opening day pitcher in 2021. It's who's going to pay to go see it. Where is the corporate money coming from and the sky? But all the stuff that you need to have a Major League, because it's not coming from D.C. ever again. And I am very concerned. I really am.
So, I mean, you just nailed put the nail on the head. I mean, just essentially that, you know, for all the talk about what Peter Angelos has or has not done in terms of Masson and D.C., I defend a lot of the stuff the Orioles have done in terms of maybe not holding the money, but battling D.C. because their major one of their major, let me rephrase this, their most financially viable market was taken from them. Okay, and that certainly hurt attendance and their financial wherewithal, and people gloss over that when they talk about this circumstance with Masson and D.C. pretty consistently. In terms of the ultimate question you're asking, where are they going to come from? Look, if you look at the statistics in terms of the digital media for baseball, it's pretty good. I mean, people pay attention. Are there diehard fans? Well, I mean, in terms of me, I attract diehard baseball fans because people know how I feel about the sport. The people of color, the cultural connection, the multicultural connection to baseball has been an issue for the major leagues for years now, and that's something they're going to have to figure out because you're right. I mean, that is slipping.
I think they have a lot of problems. I think the game's not very good. I think Sabres messed the game up.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not interesting. It's not interesting to me in a lot of cases. And I think the postseason becomes a completely bastardized version of. I mean, we're going to wake up and start watching baseball in the postseason, and it's a game of relief pitching. Like literally, it's a completely.
The game is far less interesting than it used to be because it wasn't always just walks, strikeouts, and home runs. And there were great plays. The hit over the shortstop, the drive in a run. I mean, a lot of that's being lost. There's no question the game, because of sabermetrics and analytics, but analytical people who watch the game from an analytics standpoint will tell you that they have found the secret of the game. And what I will tell you is that they have changed the game. They've altered the game, not 100%, but certainly to the extent that it is a more point-to-point version of baseball. And the other version where people actually try to get hits and drive in runs by hitting the ball was much more interesting.
Dude, I'll say this. It's like a game of aces in tennis, right? Like the men's game got so powerful that it wasn't interesting anymore. Everything was an ace.
That's a great point.
And the volleying is what makes you want to watch.
That's a great point. And for that reason, women's tennis for the last 15, if not 20 years, has been far more interesting in tennis. No, that's a great point. You're absolutely right. I think baseball does have a problem. It's going to have to figure some things out about what it wants to be, who they're trying to attract. Because on top of it, in an age where people want things to move, it is still a relatively slow game. If you're not interested in the cerebral part of it, it's still a hard sell. I think we talked about this. I think all sports in general are going to have trouble getting people into seats, just like movie theaters and a lot of concert halls, a lot of forms of entertainment where, hey, I have a 60-inch, 70-inch screen in my home with digital stereo equalizers. I can eat in my underwear. I can invite my friends over. They can park at my house for free. Why would I spend all of this money to go do this, hundreds of dollars to go do this, and have my team maybe lose I don't know, 110 games? And I think the answer to the question ultimately is that the sports, the entertainment will always rely on the people that want the visceral, tactile feeling of being out there in the warmth, in the cold, with 48,000 people, being there live, being able to say I was there live when Delman Young hit the double off the wall against the Tigers, and Camden Yards erupted. Those are the things that get people out. But to really have that, you have to win. You have to be consistent. You have to be good. And you have to have an organization that functions in a positive manner. So, I mean, those are the things that demand that organizations stay smart, stay savvy, figure it out. So, I mean, yeah, are you asking me, do I have baseball fans in my life still? Yes. Do they go to the games as much? No, I don't go to the games as much. One, as you said, I work up near D.C. and it's hard to get back. Two, life changes and things, and it demands attention in other places. And
do you still have a good time when you go? Is it worth the money when you go? That's another thing I hear is that I don't have – I mean, that's how I feel. When I go to the game, when I go to a Baltimore Orioles game, I don't like it. I don't have fun. You know, it's not the experience it was 20 years ago for a million reasons, not the least of which is Peter Angelos being an ass to me for 20. I mean, okay, that's there, but I'm at the game and I've given it my night, and and I like baseball and I'll root for the team and I like some players and I like but I go and it's a zero experience for me. It really is. It's not as good as it used to be, and it's not close. And I do prefer it more on TV when Palmer's calling the game, or when the game's not Pollyanna broadcasted to me. I do like good conversation around my baseball, and I probably prefer that to sitting out in the upper deck where I don't get a look at the strike zone. And, the watching of the game, you actually see the game better on TV.
I do have fun at the game, Ness. I do. I mean, I love baseball. And I love, as much as I'm fine watching it on TV, I like being able to see where the outfielders are positioned. Which allows me to know that Buck has been mispositioning his outfielders for 3 seasons. And I like being able to see what I want to see, and the entire, expanse of the field. It changes. You're a football fan. I hear all the time that the angles on TV don't always do justice to what's actually happening on the field.
I can't watch a football game on TV properly.
Right.
Baseball, I feel like I can.
So for me it is. I can certainly see where a casual fan might not be interested there anymore, but I mean that, if the game is always going to rely on casual fans being there, they should be the cream on the top. If they don't have the actual crust and the filling of the fans that give a damn every day, then they're doomed. So,
they need a lot of people to still think it's the greatest thing in the world they can do, go to a ball game, and it's not the greatest thing I do anymore, and it's not for a lot of people I know. Literally, it's not that much fun. There are other things I'd rather do, and I spent most of my life not wanting to do anything other than be at a ball game. You know what I mean? So it really is, it's a different time, and they're going into a slumber here that I am very worried of what we're going to find whenever they come out of it, because it will not be short-lived. This isn't getting better next year or the year after, or really anytime soon. We don't even have any confidence in their ability that even if they were good at this, it would take 3 or 4 years. If they do it perfectly, it would take 3 or 4 years. And I don't think they're competent enough to do that. I have no confidence level in that.
It took them a long time to get to a point of being good again. And they got there. But it was a very small window of time where they got the pieces to make that happen, to create that commodity. They had the commodity, and they sucked it dry to the point that they didn't realize they were running out, and they didn't do anything. They kept trying to double, triple down on what they had instead of trying to start over. They missed that window. They missed the opportunity. They tried to do something on the back end of it. You just think about what might have happened if Machado and Scope had been in place to help rebuild, and how much time that might have helped solve. They're in trouble. They have to do things perfectly now. They have to be incredibly smart and savvy now. and there's little evidence at this point for you to believe and have faith that they will do so. But you never know.
Enjoy the off season, okay? Try to see a show or something, Al, you know?
I'm going to try my best.
Alan McCallum has been my friend for 23 years now, I believe, and our WNST insider. And I do hope to see you and have you on at some point during the postseason and maybe come on out and have a beverage and watch a little baseball with me at some point in October. We should share a night to do that.
I look forward to talking to you.
And I promise not to make you eat cheese.
Deal. Sounds good.
He hates cheese. Alan McCallum with the cheeseless pizza. I don't know if they do cheese. If I go to Essex to Pizza John's and I order a cheeseless pizza, they're going to throw my ass out of Essex. That's all I'm going to tell them. They're going to tell me to go back to Dundalk. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.